The Print Your Games podcast, the podcast about what's new and awesome in 3D printing for gamers. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perram, and I'm joined by.
Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery.
I was thinking about what episodes to title this, and you'll notice if you're watching live, we don't have an episode card or title. It's because today's a banter episode where we're going to have lots of little topics, and I won't really know what to call the episode till we're done. But one of the things I wanted to call it is sometimes it's not new and awesome. Sometimes it's new and frustrating.
Mm-hmm. I'm
I
so glad I haven't had this experience yet now I'm terrified to open my box.
Yeah. So just to kick it off right away, what have you been up to, Kristen?
I've been up to a lot less frustrating things than you. I have
Okay.
started, a while back to
Hmm.
proxy for some black blades in my games, but they're
Ooh.
also usable for Chaos Warriors. I did some Broken
Ooh.
Anvil, kind of Chaos Knight looking dudes.
Yeah, I saw those. They looked really cool.
Yeah, I really liked them, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm basically building a Chaos Army, right? And I'll probably
Hmm.
play Chaos United because I love all of them. So,
Hmm.
and again, this would be with proxies or with one-page rules, depending on what we were doing. So I
Hmm.
started using one-page rules. Speaking of, they have war daemons, which are
Hmm.
kind of bloodletter proxies, I imagine, bloodletters
Hmm.
of Corn. But I freaking love them. I like their armor. Their armor is way cooler. This is not going to be the best picture,
Yeah.
but very much like the bloodletters, they have a
Yeah.
bit more variety in their weapons, but their armor's just got way cooler textures. They're still a little small from what I feel like bloodletters were a little bigger, and I'm sure I could
Hmm.
adjust that, but I set up a tray of them just to kind of go. Really enjoyed painting them until I exploded my container here of Vallejo game color. I blew
Oh
the
no.
the bone white that I was using to do their horns and their weapons because I did their weapons like bone too, but I blew it all over myself on a live stream, which was really
Oh
fun.
no. Yeah, so like the general rule for dropper bottles is if you gently squeeze and the paint doesn't come out, and you shake it, gently squeeze and the paint doesn't come out, do not continue to squeeze because disaster awaits.
Well, I thought I used my trusty little teeny these curved tweezers. They're
Hmm.
maybe I don't know what a half inch in length, and they're
Yeah.
really sharp and pointy. And I thought that would do the trick. And I thought I got a little paint out,
Hmm.
and I gave it a good squeeze.
Oh no, there's never a good squeeze is never the at no point in time is a good squeeze a good idea, even on a perfectly functional bottle of this stuff.
Yep, yep. So I was wearing a brand new shirt,
Oh no.
and I just got bone white spatter all over my shirt, all over my table. I believe on my charging cable right here, there's still some right on it,
Oh,
maybe.
great.
Yeah. So
That's now your painting shirt.
yes, it is. But yeah, so that was my fun frustration, but really not that bad compared
Right.
to I think your frustrating experience.
Yeah, and this is going to become an unfortunate. So I So I finally, we talked about the Neptune 3. We were super hype about the Neptune 3 because I love the Neptune 2. It's a rock solid beast that I've printed hundreds of things on, and it's just perfect. And it's my favorite little 3D printer. And like the Neptune 3's got, it's going to be everything the Neptune 2 was, but it's got automatic bed leveling and a built-in flex plate. And oh boy, I've had nothing but frustration with my Neptune 3. I put it together. It puts together like a dream. It took me 10 minutes to put this thing together. It was super easy. And they've got a YouTube video that walks you through every step of the process, and it is a wonderful experience. And then
Okay.
I get it set up and I do the test print, the little Buddha statue that
Yeah, you
the
sent me
Elegoo
videos,
uses.
and it
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
smooth. That thing sounds
It's
so
the
quiet.
Yeah, it's a perfect print. It's like the best I've ever had that test print come out. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm gonna put it to print off some more things just to warm it up and get used to using it. So I queue up some of my movement trays. I was for so little 25 millimeter circle rack trays for war games.
Right.
So I put the 2x5 together because that's a real common one. Use it in Oathmark and one page rules as Age of Fantasy Regiments would use it. Lots of games would use it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, okay, I need like a crap ton of these. And I start printing them.
Yeah.
And The first one comes out absolutely dead perfect. The best this has ever come off my printer. It
Nice.
is
It
wonderful.
looks
Like I
very
didn't even
clean.
print it with a brim. This thing just flat on plate, perfect
Really?
every. Yeah, completely smooth, completely
Yeah, that looks
smooth.
fantastic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then on the second one, this weird texture showed up on the bottom.
Not good.
That's a not good. But the next one came out perfect. You
Okay.
know, yeah,
So,
great. Yeah.
yeah.
Then they started to come out weird. And this
Uh,
thing auto levels, and it levels before every print.
hmm.
Automatically levels itself before every print. So this should not be happening. I should not
Right,
be having
right,
level. This is leveling issues, is what I'm showing. It's like the curve is pointed up. There's this weird texture where the nozzle is burning into the layer beneath it when it shouldn't be. These are
right.
leveling issues. And then I was like, okay, I re-leveled it manually. I maybe was a little bit when you level it the first time, you do have to tell it like the Z offset. So you slide the paper underneath the nozzle one time to
Mhm.
get it to be like just the perfect amount off the bed.
Okay.
And I was like, maybe I put it down there too low, so I leveled it looser the next time.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, go print another one of these and let's see how it turns out. And I was like, okay, so there's some twerks, some things I'm going to need to do to get this thing going. And
Hmm.
then disaster strikes.
All
It not
right.
on. I come back. Like I see it put the first layer down. Okay, cool. That's I always make sure that the first layer is going down before I leave a printer
Yeah,
alone.
I won't leave the room until I see
Yeah.
that
So
silhouette.
yeah, so I go into the next room. I'm watching Rings of Power. I'm having a great time. I've watched for 2 episodes. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go check on it. And these things only take like an hour and a half to print. They're not long prints. I like to just like to just like factory
Yep.
knock them out.
Peel it off, knock another
And
one out. Yep.
oh my gosh! And I'm going to pull up a picture of what happened
I
next.
believe I
Okay,
have seen this picture on your from your phone.
you have, and it is sadness times. But basically, like I find the tray, which is this one, by the way, this one
Hmm.
knocked behind the printer.
Behind, like it's
The
flown off the printer.
Yeah, the nozzle has knocked it off the printer, and there's this gigantic molten blob of plastic completely encasing my hot end. And that's not a good look for hot ends. You
No,
don't want complete bulbs of plastic.
you don't
And I'm
even
gonna
want a solidified drop around there. Yeah, that's not. This is not a bulb. If you're listening to this is a tomb of plastic encasing the hot end.
no. And so I went looking on the forums and like, WTF, mate. And the Neptune forums are just filled with posts, like three, four, five people posting things that look worse than this.
Yikes.
So this seems to be a problem with the Neptune 3 right
Perram,
now.
I am cursed when it comes to this stuff. I am now horrified to open my box.
There is rumors that there is a firmware update that can fix this problem, or fix the leveling problems. I have been in contact with Elegoo support. They assure me that this is a fixable problem, but I am not having a fun time. This is I understand this is normal, but like I'm Neptune 3 so that I would no longer need to worry about this
Yeah, it
stuff.
was supposed to
The
not
printer's
be
supposed
finicky
to
like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a leveling problem. The printer is supposed to level itself every time it prints. I should not be having leveling problems. Um, so this is definitely a fault with the printer, and I am not alone in this. And this is problem with James is asking: is it a print head issue or is it an issue with the auto leveling? I would have to assume there's an issue with the auto leveling because, and I know what reason I strongly suspect that is because when I leveled it, I leveled it manually, and then afterwards I leveled it manually a few more times, and I was getting drastically different numbers for what it thought the Z offset should
Mm,
be, which should not happen. It should be the
every
same
time.
or near
Yeah.
the same, not like 20 difference, like point 0.20 difference every time I'm doing it.
Yikes. Okay.
Yeah. And so the forum says it's an auto leveling issue. I'll keep y'all updated with how it goes. But as of right now, I can't really recommend purchasing a Neptune 3 at the
That
moment. Not
sucks.
until I see some results from that.
James is asking, is the print head salvageable?
I Some people assure me that it is. The like evidently clogs like this are they happen, and I'm being told you just heat up the print head and then you can pull it off and then clean out the nozzle. I've seen some of the ones online that would not be true, where the clogging has like gone to such an extent that it exploded the housing
Yeah.
that the print head was in.
Alex says similar issue with my CR6 SE before it finally caught fire. Oh no.
Oh no! I do not want fire. I do not
Oh,
want fire.
perhaps it was a Cure update issue as nothing else had changed.
Yeah, and
Jeez.
over time, like usually when I hear about this, it's because of printer. It's for older printers, like printers that have been used for a while, and it's because like these are machines. These are machines that are like getting it very hot. Filament printers have a lot of moving parts. Parts wear out over time, and you need to be replaced, and that's just part of a printer's life. Even with resin printers, like the screens wear out and you have to replace them, the bulbs wear out and you have to replace them. Like machines do need maintenance and will have problems eventually. This is a brand new machine right out the
Yeah.
box,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
that first Anycubic Mega X I got. Like it
Hmm.
shouldn't have been that janky right out of the box.
Right. So I'm back to my Neptune 2. My Neptune 2 is still a little tank. I still highly recommend Neptune 2s. That printer. I'm having to manually level my bed again like a caveman, but
Mm-hmm.
um no, but it is still printing out parts. Nice. So that's where I'm at right now, and I'm working with any not Anycubic. I'm working with Elegoo support to get it fixed up. But that's been my frustration.
Don't clean
Uh,
your nozzle, just replace it. Someone, who's
okay.
that? Lord Novus?
The little piece you use to clean it is tricky and hurts when you prick your finger. They cost pennies. Okay. So I might be looking at replacing my nozzle. Elegoo has said they will ship me replacement parts. Yeah. So
That's
there
good.
is that. Lucas says, "What is the serial number?" Lol. I don't know, but I was one of the very first people to sign up and buy this printer. Like I was like straight in line.
I
Like
believe I was less than a half hour after you, so
yeah, like I was sitting there camping the countdown and
yep.
had a Perl script ready to enter my info. So like there's very few people that could have beaten me.
Yeah, I was in a car, so there was no way I was going to do it. I did, however, pull over and park in order.
Yes, which is
What's
like
up?
I do have faith in Elegoo to set it right. They have always done good by me in the past with replacement parts and warranties and stuff. So
Yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about the Saturn so far, so I'm
hmm
hoping that will extend. And you've
hmm
loved your two, so I think
right,
it'll get sorted. It just
yeah,
early adoption woes.
yep, indeed, early adoption problems. Okay. But other than that, I've been cleaning up my paint area, cleaning up my game room. We built a storage building so that I can store tons of my game crap, and everything else is going to be going in that direction. Also, we are recording this live in front of a whole bunch of audiences because we're live on YouTube, Facebook, and a few other places. So if you've got any questions, go ahead and ask them in chat. We'll be addressing them during chat. So next up, we have a bit of surprising news.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed, we found out that Ultimaker and MakerBot, so both very long-lived companies in the 3D printing space, have announced that they are merging
Yep.
together to make the new company Alta Maker with a capital M this time.
They really stretched themselves. I'm sure that there was
Mhm,
a whole a focus group
mhm,
and
yeah,
ideation team that came up with that difference in the name,
yeah.
capitalizing.
And like they have been producing some of the earliest like decent high end consumers printers, especially and school printers available. Both of these companies have impeccable reputations and lots of products that people love and have done great good to the community. So to see this to be a merger is surprising. I hope that it leads to good things. I'm always a little bit cautious anytime major groups start to merge in a emerging
Mm-hmm.
field because I don't want to hit the Disney Plus situation where we have one person that or one company that controls all of pop culture in one spot. Um, but let's just hope that this one leads to good, happy things. And I don't really have any bad things to say about either company. They've both done um, a lot of good for the industry over the years. So I can't really pin anything on them of examples of
Right,
bad
right.
behavior.
Well, and they're usually pretty high end, right? So,
Hmm.
like,
Yeah.
it's not like it's going to be a low consumer situation. It's probably going to result in an even higher quality, would be my guess. So we are saying the name.
Alex, Alex in chat coming in with saying the name Ultimaker Bot is available.
So it would seem. So it would seem, Alex.
Jennifer Perkin is saying, I almost bought this printer for hubby's birthday. So glad I didn't. And I am sad that I'm having problems with this thing and I'm seeing others. I really wanted this printer to be awesome. But hey, it's important that I let you all know what I'm actually dealing with when I'm dealing with it. I did not get an early review copy or anything like some of the other content creators got. I just had to buy mine just like everybody else's. And so my own money's on the line. Not that it's much money. This is a stupidly cheap printer.
Yeah, and it was a really great deal. So
Yeah.
I feel the same way. I wouldn't have got it if it hadn't been kind of a no brainer in terms of cost. So
Right. Oh, and I'm not too sad about going back to the Neptune 2. It was a great printer, and leveling it once a day, not stupidly time consuming.
right.
I just need to quit being lazy and do it.
Yes. Yes.
But I did want to. But we have we have more news. We have more fun news.
Including a news item that I'm not sure you're aware of. Maybe you are.
Oh, maybe I'm not aware of it. What's the news item I'm not aware of, Kristen?
I mean, it's not a super surprise if you've been following anything related to it, but Black Magic Crafts Idols of Torment Kickstarter finally kicked off.
Oh,
And
okay.
I went to go check it out. And at first, I was horrified because I did not see STLs until I got down to the Mac Daddy. Because he's turned around on 3D printing. He was really anti, and then he was
Mhm.
he's like, I was wrong and adopted it. And yeah, I went
Mhm.
down to the big, Mamma Jamma, get everything pledge level. And suddenly there were STLs, and I was like, "What the heck? Like, why are they down here? After you still get the physical product, you still get like a printed book, a PDF book, you get the whole game." And I was
Mhm.
like, "What?" But then I realized you can go up and donate almost anything, and then as an add-on, you can put
Mhm.
the STL in, and that's what I was going to just make sure listeners knew that if you go in and like get a PDF, or I think there's a minimum pledge level to get the add-on pledge manager, then you can
Mhm.
go in and just buy the add-ons. And there is terrain, like there are big sculpture statue things. It's kind of cool.
Mhm.
And then there's minis as well. But there are STLs for both of them, and you don't have to buy the physical product. At a casual glance, it looks like you have to buy the physical product to get the STLs, which I think
Mhm.
is weird.
Yeah, I had a similar issue with Miniac's big Kickstarter where he had the cool wood elf statues
Uh-huh.
and figures to buy, and it was a similar thing where you could just pledge $1 and then add on the STL files to get all the
Really?
film.
I
Yeah.
full on did not back it because I didn't see the STL.
Oh yeah. Well, I did, and that's how I got them.
Uh,
So
yeah.
oops.
So that's an
And it
admonition to
was.
our creators out there. Put your STL information up front. I understand that probably some people are a little leery to
Mm-hmm.
just announce that there's STLs right away in
Mm-hmm.
their
Yeah.
stuff, but
There should just be an STL pledge, like the all digital pledge in
right?
every Kickstarter that
Give me a
offers it. I really do
PDF, give me
think.
STLs.
Right.
I'll buy your book. I'll pay extra for your book just to get the STLs and convenient,
Hmm.
like in one
Hmm.
drop. But
Yeah. And it was like also like the Miniac one was $7 for all the STLs, which was stupid cheap. So I was like,
what
oh
the
heck yeah.
heck? I feel disappointed
Oh.
now that I didn't dig into that a little deeper. But it's just like, I love Broken Anvil. I am a
Hmm.
Broken Anvil fanboy. I pay annual for that Patreon.
Hmm.
Rivenstone, no
Hmm.
STL support for it, just kills me. kills
And
me.
of a similar note, one that's kind of under the radar for a very big project right now. The Stormlight Archives minis have
Yep.
hit Kickstarter, and I am a huge fan of the Stormlight Archives. Are you? Do you like the Stormlight
Oh yeah,
Archives?
absolutely. Not to mention that Brandon's local, and he's a super cool
Oh,
dude. So like, I
yeah.
can say because I worked in books for almost 2 decades,
Hmm.
and Sanderson's legit. He's a super nice guy. The
Hmm.
books are fun, but yeah, I love the stuff. And I thought this is also only physical. Is there an STL level?
So there is not an STL level. So what
Huh.
they've done is it's mostly physical minis. They have the option of these little 6 packs. There's like 3 different 6 packs, one for each of the novels of figures.
Right.
I do not know. I did not read enough to know if they are thermoplastic or resin. But they look fantastic. Like they really look fantastic. I like Dalinar. I love Dalinar. He's one of my favorite characters. Bridge 4 Kaladin. There's multiple versions of Kaladin.
Of course there is. Mary Sue.
So it's great, and you can't get those 6 packs. Okay, there are 4 6 packs.
Uh
You
huh.
cannot get those 6 packs digitally, but they also have like rank and file troops and monsters that are not the main characters available that you can buy in packs as well to like build your own soldiers and to go along with the main characters. And
Hmm.
those are available as an STL file if you would rather have print out your army instead of having to buy that pack over and over again. So if you want the named characters, the unique characters, you have to buy those at like $6, $8, $10 a piece.
But you
But if
can't
you
get
want,
STLs of them.
no, but you can get STLs of all of the soldiers and monsters
Can you
printed
get an
yourself.
STL for the Chasm Fiend? Is that a
It
thing?
says it has 3D files including Shardbearer, Chol, and the Army Builder. No,
Okay.
the Chasm Fiend is a bespoke mini that you have to buy on its own for $40.
Mm.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
but hey, it's they got some STL pack that you can pledge into if you want,
At least
which
that's
is fun.
something.
Yeah.
I have already spent way too much money this year on getting the 4 surprise book Kickstarters, so
Oh yeah. I'm a
I
huge
don't
friend
know.
of Sanderson, so like I and it hurt, but I passed on that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna buy those books when they come out, and I feel bad about that. But
I don't know. I had to wait for a, what was it, Dawn Shard? Having to
hmm
wait for that to even go to ebook drove me crazy.
oof,
Like I was just so it it took a while, and people were already reading it from the Kickstarter last time, so I couldn't do it again.
so I think that it's neat that we're seeing STL files like showing up on big releases. It makes sense for the Black Magic Craft one. Oh, it occurs to me that some of our listeners might not know what Black Magic Craft is.
Oh yeah, good point.
Yeah, Jeremy from Black Magic Craft, fantastic YouTube channel. You should go check it out for sure. It is all about like crafting terrain for games, like handcrafting it, mostly using XPS foam, which is installation foam you can get at most hardware stores. And now like there's like whole groups that specialize in selling packs of it to gamers, which is kind of cool to see.
Yep.
And it's like really great tutorials on how to make that stuff very cheaply, very effectively, and very quickly.
You will end up
And
buying a Proxon foam cutter if you watch it too long, which is what I did. And that's
you,
how I made my little wall segment here with little chopped up
oh,
foam cores.
I still haven't bought a Proxon. I borrowed one from a friend and used it and loved it.
I love
And
it.
like I am like literally too. It would take no amount of time for somebody to talk me into buying one right now. So a Proxon is like a hot wire cutter for foam, and it makes crafting this stuff super easy. XPS foam is a wonderful material, and before I jumped into 3D printing real hardcore, I was real big into doing that crafting my own stuff like that for
Well, and
terrain and
if I'm like
such.
on a panic for like an event or like a really
Mm-hmm.
cool dungeon,
Mm-hmm.
this is crazy, but I have actually started a print to get like some very like functional or very specific pieces in. At the same time, I've run down here and used the Proxon to cut like big foam pieces to put it on. and like the things you can get done in the same
Mhm.
amount of time with both of them, you can get so much done while you're doing both, but
Mhm.
it's a commitment.
And if I have to be honest, like the smart thing to do as a gamer who wants to have like the really cool looking terrain for their games, whether it's RPGs or wargaming, is probably use the crafty methods to make the big stuff and the dungeon tiles and the empty rooms, and then grab that resin printer and use it to print off your furniture and
Your
your detail bits
your
and like,
detail walls.
yeah,
And I
and the
would say
really
like
cool throne the vampire sits on and
it's funny, I have all these visual aids right by me, but I'm just gonna quickly say this is the WizKids prefab, and
uh-huh,
like it's
it's
fine.
nice, I like it.
You know, it's but it's very uniform. If you obviously if you're listening, so you can't see this,
Hmm.
it's very
Hmm.
uniform. There's very like strict patterning in it. Where I think that the results you get for hand cutting it is just it's just so much more flavorful and has more character. So
Right. And that
yeah,
stuff is all coated in Mod Podge and it's surprisingly durable. You can like throw that crap across the room and it'll be
yep,
fine.
yep, it survives way better.
Yeah. And if it doesn't, it was so cheap and fast to make. It's crazy.
It's true.
Just because I have a 3D printer doesn't mean I want to I don't handcraft stuff still. I love doing the crafty bits. There's like the 3D printer is just another tool in our arsenal. And you know
Yep,
what's great about 3D printers? You can 3D print tools for crafting. You
it's
can
true. It's
We
true.
talked about those texture rollers. In fact, there's a new Kickstarter that I've just started getting into, not Kickstarter, but Patreon,
Uh huh.
that I've just started getting into that's kind of becoming that's kind of blowing up right now in the scene. It's called Custom Miniature Maker.
Hmm.
They do not publish their membership, so I do not know how many members they've got, but I'm going to pull them up on screen right now. And what they do is they just specialize in tools for using in the crafting. Now their stuff they are all about using DOS clay with the texture rollers and the stamps and stuff. Which so I'm going to give that a try instead of the XPS foam. They have said the rollers do work on XPS foam if you prefer to go that way, but like
That's cool.
you've got these texture rollers and they've also got like the stamps to put the grid pattern on things that don't have the grid pattern, and they
That's really
also
nice.
have bases, like little base punches so that you can make base custom
So
miniature bases with them, and they also have base topper cutters that will cut the top texture that will fit on a standard size GW base to just put it and leave the rim alone.
nice. This is like an FDM print you would make,
A lot
right?
of their stuff is printed in resin
Oh,
actually, but you print
interesting.
it in FDM.
Okay.
But like if you print it in FDM, you'll get your texture roller will have the layer lines there.
Sure,
And if you
sure.
print it in resin, they won't. So that's why I like to print my texture rollers in resin. And even though it does cost a lot, that'll eat up like a good 200 milliliters of resin. But they
Yeah.
also do publish like little scatter pieces to go along with the texture roller theme that month. So this has been real fun to mess with. And here's like some of the base punches. They have like,
Yeah.
they tell you exactly what the size of the base punch is, and it's
It's
great.
like cookie cutters. Cookie cutters. I love it.
It's cookie cutters. It's really nerdy cookie cutters. They
I dig
also
it.
have it like in hex grids, so you can put a hex grid down on your thing if you want to do a
Oh,
mech warrior terrain
you could
or
do a
battletech terrain.
Claycast West Marches board for your D&D game if you were
Mhm.
into that.
Yeah. So, and they also have a crap ton of stuff for free. So, like the basic stone texture and indoor texture and cave textures, and the punches are just available for free. And they're currently doing the you pledge in and you get everything method of
Oh, like
Patreon. Yeah.
uh,
So, like you can go all the way back and just download.
I
You just
love
get a
it, yet
link
I
to a
feel
library is
so
what you get.
guilty.
I know. Sometimes I do too. But like I've been actively pledging them since they started. So you just get a library link where like all the files that they've ever made are just in there.
Nice, nice.
Mhm.
Looks like Alex has thrown out that Ian Lovecraft has a new Kickstarter starting. I know we just finished
Oh, they
Dark Alley, maybe, right? And I know there's a Viking one, I think, starting is maybe what he's talking
okay,
about.
yeah. If you've got some info on that, Alex, let us know. I haven't. That one has dropped below the radar, but I love Lovecraft stuff. I think I've pledged almost everything that they've made. It's been awesome, and gosh, that newest one just looks so cool. I wanted the big reason I wanted to get my Neptune 3 going was to print the new one.
Right,
I
right. Well,
want
those
that
buildings are
mansion.
really neat. Yeah.
Yeah. And because I'm about to run a Ravenloft game, I could really use some creepy vampire-y stuff right now.
I saw a very fascinating TikTok trend about non Slavic Strahd. Give us your non-Slavic, non-Eastern European Strahd impersonations, and there were a number of Texan Strahds that were quite entertaining.
I
Anyway,
I support that. I really like the whole idea that orcs should be Texans.
I bet that would cause quite a bit of feeling in the community. Cool.
I'm a big
Um,
fan of orcs.
there is some deep love on the TikToks for the orcs. There is orc talk. It is a thing.
You
The
must introduce me
She-Hulk
to orc
filter,
talk.
the She-Hulk filter that has just come out, everybody is using to do like pseudo cosplay as orcs. It's kind of entertaining to have an intersectionality of two fandoms like that. Is it's a sight. I will say that if you're bored, get on TikTok and look up the She-Hulk filter and orcs.
So I have another bit of news, but do you want to jump in before I drop the
No,
next one?
you got that. I think I've got a couple things left, but they're pretty small.
Alex says Boston Strahd has to be the best.
Nice.
At least my Eastern London ears. Okay. Now, we have some interesting surprise news that hit us with Vallejo. They
Yes.
have announced that they are doing a what they're calling express colors, which
Because it
is
had to
their
have a third name.
entering into the contrast paint arena is Vallejo colors. And they did a spotlight paint off event to announce it, with Juan Hidalgo doing a lot of it. So they put this paint together in consultation with Arno Lazario and Juan Hidalgo.
Hmm.
And Juan Hidalgo is one of my favorite painters
He's amazing.
going. He is absolutely amazing. I can never get to his skill level, and he's got a very entertaining YouTube channel, so go check that out. It's great, and also follow him on Instagram. And then he posted this picture of one of the minis that he made with the new express colors. And as somebody who paints with these paints a lot and have also seen other people flex with these paints better than I ever could, this picture blows me absolutely away with some of the qualities it has. How it handles that skin tone, how it
Hmm.
handles the smoothness on the leathers. You don't see a lot of the tea staining or the pulling. You don't see a lot of the telltale, oh, that's a contrast paint job signs with it. Also, the colors they're there, but they have that like muted effect that Vallejo often has with their colors. So this looks like somebody used Vallejo paints to paint this.
Yeah,
Like I
if
had
you're
paint
listening
enough with
to this,
Vallejo.
that
Uh,
leather looks like it has 3 or 4 shades in it to me. Like it looks like there's a highlight on it. It looks
mhm,
like there's a deep, like a stain of some kind or ink of
mhm,
some kind.
yeah.
It's amazing.
And when pushed about like how it was painted, he has said there's no highlights on this image. And there was
Yep.
nothing highlighted at all to produce this. It was also painted completely with the express colors, so with no additional colors used. Um, some things were put on in multiple layers to add, like, to darken it and to shade it. So he specifically called out the bow and the tips of the feathers were done that way by using
Hmm.
multiple layers of the paint, and then everything else was just done straight.
But I'm gonna say,
And
if the
and the
multiple
exception of
layers,
the eyes. The
the
eyes were
mul-
painted manually.
yes, if the multiple layers go on that smooth though, this
Hmm.
might be a win over either of the other two things because
Yeah.
I've noticed specifically with contrast. If I go back in again, it pools and bubbles and does weird things where like the entire pigmentation slides off underneath the new coat.
Oh, you're getting reactivation issues with
Yeah,
yours.
yeah. Which I'm sure we've both discovered you can use medium to fix that, but like
Hmm.
it's if he really didn't have to like do extra steps for that, I think that's amazing.
C Catlett says that's a terrible name for a paint line. Express colors. They have to come
Yes,
up with something.
Yes,
They
it
can't
sounds
use.
to me like a shop from the 90s in a mall. Like, let's go to
Mhm.
Express Colors. Yeah.
And I actually was a little bit grumpy with speed paints being used as a name because it's a tech, it's a whole style of painting that's now going to be completely. But honestly, GW started this with contrast paints, and like the prime word to discuss what you need to achieve in painting is you need more contrast. So they're all guilty of bad names for product.
It would be like naming your new tabletop role playing game the role playing game. Yeah.
Oh, darn it.
But speaking of painting techniques, this
Hmm.
segues into a painting technique you were talking to me about, doesn't it?
Oh, yes. So tying into this, I was like, hey, I love to paint with contrast paints, and I do it over zenithals. And have
Me
you heard
too.
of the slap top chop method?
I had not until just a little while ago.
Yeah.
You
So,
educated me.
yeah. So, like, obviously, using these tools, they do allow for some really quick, lazy painting that I adore because anything that gets models on the table fast and looking halfway decent is great. And again, I tell you, that what you're trying to beat is hero clicks because hero clicks is passed off in this hobby as acceptable levels of paint jobs on models, and they don't even get the face on the right side of the head most of the time.
I haven't even done shading on this yet, and it's already better
Yeah,
than
I'd
most
be
HeroClix.
I would be happy with just a base layer of contrast across an entire mini as a game piece. I would be happy with that at my table. It beats gray any day of the week.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But there are some ways that you can get your use these contrast speed paints, these transparent paints. Green Stuff World introduced dipping inks
Mhm.
as their alternative, and their big marketing seems to be just you give us $8 and we give you a giant freaking bottle, like a ginormous bottle of this paint.
Yeah, it has
Yeah.
to be big though. I've done army painter dips too, and like if it isn't big enough, you've got a problem.
Yeah, or you could just watch the Goob video and just make this crap yourself using
Sure,
acrylic inks
sure.
and medium, and it works just as good. I love like this is what I've painted all my ghouls that you see in the banner on their channel art. I painted it with this very paint that I made myself using the Goob recipe.
So tell me more about this slap chop thing.
Okay, so with slap chop, what you do, and I had a thing to pull up for this, but what you do is what we used to call gray brushing to your model first, or you're basically going to be doing a value sketch on it, but it's just dry brushing. So you grab those nice soft makeup brush dry brushes, and then do a one or two passes. Like you can cheat and go straight to white, you prime black, go straight to white. And instead of doing a zenithal spray prime, or in addition to doing the zenithal, like Dana Howe will do,
Mm-hmm.
you then take the dry brush. First, do gray and do a real heavy dry brush on it, and then grab white, or you can make as many progressive layers as you want to put on the mini, and just make the raised edges more and more white. And then when you go over the contrast with that, you get what looks a whole lot like the heavy metal style, where you're doing the edge highlighting and the shading. And how this differs from Zenithal is Zenithal will do a very realistic light effect on the model with natural stuff, but the tops will be like completely white because there'll be full
You can
brightness.
lose a lot of
Yeah,
crevices as
yeah.
compared to this. I had to admit
And
I
with
was
the
really skeptical when you
mhm,
showed me the idea, but then I saw some of the results, even just with the gray white. That's all he was doing. Straight black prime,
mhm,
heavy gray dry brush, light white edge pick out, and it was
yeah.
so good.
And what it does is it makes this not happen. Like I did this as Zenithal style, and if I paint up this werewolf, he'll look awesome. I'm showing one of the cast and play werewolves, but because this wolf was hunched over, like underneath the hunch is almost pure black, and the
Right,
only
right.
reason it's not is I actually went in there with a dry brush a little bit to dust in there and highlight some of those muscles, but when you do the effect, like the model looks awesome. Like here on the back, that was almost pure black, but like it gives you those shadows and volumes, very realistic style, where the slap chop method will give you. that like Games Workshop-y, heavy metal edge highlighting style. And it's up to you which one you want to go for, or you can do like Dana Howell on her channel. She does both. She does the zenithal and then comes in with a dry brush to put on top of that. And sometimes that means like going with like a slightly darker, or like a like light gray instead of a white to do your zenithal, and then hitting it with the white or
Pale
pale
sand,
sand.
right? It has
It's
to be
pale
pale
sand
sand.
if it's yeah.
Yes. Ben Stanley says hello. Hi,
Hello,
Ben.
Ben.
Also, we have C Catlet saying they could call them slab chop paints. But Alex here says our paint makes you a better painter. The reality, that was the promise. The reality is get good scrub. That's something get to. This is just another tool. I've been encountering a lot of painters online that seem to be asking permission to kind of berate the slap chop, berate the zenithal, kind of a gatekeeper mentality a little bit. And like you said earlier, paint on the mini is just going to make the play experience better for everybody. In quilting, James always says it's riding by on a galloping horse is good. And I think that holds for minis too. If it looks good from the table view, then it's good. A lot of times you're not going to see that you've picked out the command crests on the Chaos General and you've edge highlighted the ribbon. That
Right.
looks rad if you're participating for Golden Demon, but it doesn't do anything on the table.
Yeah, like it's just like you said, it's just another tool in the toolbox that can be used anyway. And I'm going to have two models I'm going to show you here. Okay, so this model right here is one of my skeletons I painted,
Mm-hmm.
and it is just straight up a zenithal plus speed paints, army painter speed paints on this one.
With your
And
undercoat trick.
yeah, the undercoat drivers. But look at the top half of the model, but where before the dry brushing. And that is just all speed paint doing the job with the zenithal. I didn't do any extra highlighting, any extra work,
Yep.
and it looks good.
It looks
This
good.
is
It looks great for table play.
fantastic. This won't win me a painting contest, but it looks great. It is perfect little game piece. And I had a billion skeletons to paint, and he's a skeleton. I don't need him to be like a contest winning paint job. And already I'm really like this model. I'm more than proud of how the job came off. Yes, he took me 5 minutes. That's all the skeleton took me.
But sometimes that's showing off the sculpt, and that's worth doing too.
And then there's Werewolf Boy.
Werewolf Boy, those abs.
Yeah, so Werewolf Boy I love to pieces, and I spent hours on Werewolf Boy.
Uh-huh.
And so Werewolf Boy started off life just a Zenithal Prime.
Okay.
And this is weird because I actually have step by step. And
That's
then
cool.
I put the Army Painter speed paints on the werewolf.
Yeah. Which looks
and okay,
good.
I could stop here. I could stop here.
Good.
And he'd be
Good.
a cool looking werewolf boy, and I'm happy with him. And I really went with the cool blue because I liked blue fur as an option for the werewolf.
Yeah. Has kind of a Worgen from WoW vibe to me.
Yeah, and I could have stopped there, but then I went and grabbed my my Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl and my nice little sable brush, and I then started to put layers and layers and layers of highlights on top of it, and details, and like picking out the eyes and the teeth and all kinds of work, where I just used this as a starting step, then made it better.
Right.
So it's another tool. Like it doesn't make you a crappy painter. It's not a bad mini just because you use the tool. It's not a bad mini if you use the tool and then made it better. It's just another paint in the box. It's just another thing you can use. And the only one that gets to decide if a paint job is good enough is the person painting it.
Yeah. Maybe if you're doing commissions.
Yeah.
Your client, but
okay, the person paying for it. And most of the time it's going to be you.
Exactly.
Yeah. And honestly, this skeleton, I am more than proud of this skeleton, and it looks better than any hero click I've ever pulled out of a box.
Yeah, absolutely. Any pre-paint from a D&D or a WizKit box too, for sure.
Yeah. I just don't yeah, so not everybody can paint as good as everybody else. Not everybody is Juan Hidalgo. I'll never paint as good as Juan Hidalgo. Okay? It's not going to happen. But I have fun painting. My minis look good to me. On a game table, they look good, and I have fun. And we do not need a bunch of people deciding that they get to be the painting police and there's a one right proper way to play the game. There's one right proper way. I mean, anytime you have a bunch of gatekeepers coming in to make a hob because a hobby is getting easier, or there's more people getting into it, or they're not doing it the right way, you're already a butthole. So
Well, yeah,
stop it.
you're already like, I mean, we're dealing enough with like 3D printing getting like stigma for Games Workshop folks that are like, official models only, et cetera, et cetera. Like, I don't think we need to add another layer of that onto things.
Right. No, I'm just glad that there's a new tool that is helping ease people into the hobby and getting them painting minis and getting less gray blobs of unpainted stuff on my game tables.
Yeah, and it lets me do things like realistically, I can print something new for almost every session of D&D or
Mm-hmm.
Pathfinder or thing that I run. I could either have a new piece of terrain that's
Mm-hmm.
fully painted or a new
Mm-hmm.
squad of models that's fully painted. And it's
Mm-hmm.
realistic. It would not be to do, older, slower techniques. I couldn't keep up with that.
Right. Yeah. And on this wasn't good before these products invented, and then like everybody was brushing dry brushing as a technique. It's just like at no point in time should you ever be that jerk that says
Yeah.
like that's not real painting, that's not a good paint job just because you used. There's no cheating. There is no cheating in art
Right,
unless you're
right.
plagiarizing.
There's a whole discussion there we could get into. Let's see. See, Caitlin says Table-Flip Foundry Discord giveaway. 22 artists, 16
Oh,
gigabytes of free STLs, huh?
yeah, I was saving this for a shout out because we are going to have Ty from Table-Flip Foundry on as a guest next week.
Oh, I'm sorry, I ruined the timing, but you
The
excited me, see, Catlet. You did.
Yes. So Table-Flip Foundry, they are a, I guess I would describe them as a 3D printing logistics company that help with. They're a company that helps other companies. They do supports. They've helped some friends of mine get models sculpted. Like they're great middle. They have lots of great tips. They came up with the cones of calibration, which is a wonderful way to calibrate your resin 3D printer.
Mhm.
That is just, it takes longer than other calibrating methods, but it will tell you definitively if you've got it right or wrong or in which direction. And don't worry about it, Catlin. I'm glad you reminded me. We're just poking at you for fun right now. But and so they have a Discord channel that's basically have become the unofficial tabletop industry, especially a lot of insiders just hanging out there and posting it, which is 1,000. They hit 1,000 members on their Discord, and so as a celebration for that, they've teamed up with a lot of the artists that they work with. As well as like some painters to do painting tutorials and stuff, and put together this big old package of free stuff to give away. You have to go join their Discord. We'll put a link in the show notes to get to, but just look for Tabletop Foundry Discord. There's a YouTube video that's 2 minutes long that explains all this. And just join the Discord this week, and you will get access to this cool freaking repository of awesomeness. Some of the people that are participating in this are, let's just run down the list: A Tale of Grimdark, Al Howell, Arctos, Blue Wervin, Critical Crafting, Darkest Desire, Denny Coy, Epic Adventure Miniatures, Feather Oz, Forge Master Studios, Hit Point Press, Infinite Dimensions, Lavender Delivery, Lion Tower Miniatures, which is the first minis I ever printed, were from them. Milestone Heroes, Miniature Blueprint, Nikki's Hatchery, Red Clay Collectibles,
Ooh.
Risky Pixels, The Gallant Goblin. I love Gallant Goblin. They do cool plushies.
Mhm.
The Hive, Ve Victus, and Velrock Art.
There's still a lot of people on there I haven't have any files from, so that's
Mm-hmm.
exciting to me.
Yeah.
You know me, I'm a sucker for a deal.
Yes. So that's great. That's awesome. Also, it's a great community. I definitely recommend anybody check it out. You'll get lots of cool. It's like really supportive, chill community for 3D printing, and a great way like to get more in touch with the wider community. So go check out their Discord.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of suckers,
Huh?
it's almost spooky season.
Oh yes. if you everybody's going to be releasing Undead next month, aren't they?
or other spooky things. But yeah, it's time to start printing. If you're doing a Halloween game, now is the time, people.
Hmm.
You got to print and paint that stuff before your Halloween game. You got to get on it. And I'm excited about Lord of the Print having
Oh,
vampires.
okay. Lord of the
Um,
Print does the best dragons.
they do. They do big, huge monsters. So I was not expecting ornate, armored, gothic knights. But holy cow, people, these look badass, and they'll go right next to the Arc Villain game stuff. It looks like to me, it'll just click right next to that, and I'm so here
Yeah.
for it. And there's going to be some big freaky Lord of the Print style monster with
Yeah,
some
like 20-foot vampire or some nonsense. And
some
I
sort of
mean
like
real print. You're going to need to like print 80 prints on the Saturn to get it all out or some nonsense.
yeah. I saw one of their prints that took 18 pieces and like 4 or 5 trays the other day, and I was like, it's amazing, but like that's a whole bottle and a half of resin on that table. But yeah, I'm excited though to see what that gets us for Halloween. Very excited, and there's a whole bunch more. Lots of ghosts. Speaking of which, I've called out Lost Souls 2 before from oh crap. Of course, I'm blanking on it now. Monolith Studios. Monolith.
Hmm.
But oddly, they're now launching a Kickstarter. They did a Frontier already for it, but they're going to launch a Kickstarter, and I don't know what that's about.
I was confused when I saw that on Kickstarter this morning. I was like, wait, didn't we already
They
pledge
did, and
this?
it finished, and it funded, and I have all the stuff. I've printed. I have painted things on my table right now,
Okay.
and yeah, so that's a different thing. I wonder what the result is. I think we mentioned that Duncan Shadow's Mythos Frontier. I think it might have done better on Kickstarter, so maybe they're testing the waters and doing it backward. It just
Right.
seemed unusual because we normally see Kickstarters turn into Frontiers, turn into late pledges.
Right. And I am curious how that's going to work out because, like, I do think Kickstarter needs some competition in the market, especially with some of the stuff that's happened with Kickstarter and some of the controversies.
Right, right,
Um, it's good to have competition in the market, which, for Game Found has come around for a lot of the tabletop stuff, but the 3D printing market hasn't really jumped into Game Found. And it makes sense for My Mini Factory, which is like so core to the industry to kind of jump in to fill that gap with Frontiers. But like at the end of the day, if they're not pulling the numbers that they need to pull that they would have pulled on Kickstarter, I don't know how that works.
right. So it'll be interesting to see how it funds comparatively, and see if maybe creators that have only done Frontiers need to start going back and doing Kickstarters for those backlist things. Speaking of My Mini Factory, though, you may have, because there's been a lot of push for their new
Hey,
physical.
Voxel Forge.
Hey, Voxel Forge. There's been a lot of push for their physical products being offered on there. But there was a sneaky little email you may or may not have noticed that had a whole list of open late pledges.
Oh.
And I think that is a very valuable email for the value shopper. So
Mhm.
definitely go back and check your junk folders. I want to say it was about 2 or 3 days ago. I was trying to find the actual date on it, but of course I didn't pull it up in time. But yeah, keep an eye out for that, because that email is worth its weight in gold in still open Frontiers that you can go and pledge on late pledges. So
So I want to give a shout out um, to one I showed you. I shout out Lost Sword a lot, but
mm-hmm.
this month's release, I just wanted to give a shout out to because they're not as popular as some of the others, and they don't get the press out in all the same places. But they did the Ducal Guard of Avernus. So recently, Lost Sword has switched to, like, instead of supporting 4 different armies with a release every month, each month will be dedicated to one of the armies. So when they went back to the Human Empire kind of armies, they released this awesome, amazing set with wolf knights that, like, the horses have like wolf ornaments on them, and they have weapons. They've got like wolf guard. They've got a command group with a dude arguing over a table with swords. They've got awesome general on horse up front left. That is kind of the one of the ones that attracted me most to it. And then that same general is available on giant freaking f off griffin in the back.
Those flying mounts are fantastic. That's what I was waiting for you to get to, because
Yeah.
y'all should see them. They're super dynamic posed. Their wings are just like, it's a menace vibe. And normally your Griffin's kind of regal, But these actually look like barely contained monster griffins, and I think they're
Right.
really cool looking.
Yeah. The posing on this and like their wood elf set, especially, it's like when people come to me and they say, well, like 3D printing artists are not as good as like some of the artists that are available at Games Workshop or other traditional companies. Like last sword, just look at those poses, look at the details on these models, and they are absolutely designed to have just the right amount of detail to make it fun to paint without becoming frustrating.
Right, right.
Some of those horses to me would border on frustrating though, because it's like that's a whole lot of trim I'm going to have to paint. But
A lot of
daggone it, knights
carving.
are like that.
Yep.
At
Very,
least I'm
very
not having to
cool.
freehand Bretonia colors on things. All right, that's the last of my shout outs this week. Anything more from you, Kristen?
I think that is it
Mhm.
that I had. I was just double checking my list, but yeah, I think we're good.
Awesome. So until next time, if you want to find more of this content, you can do so at printergames.com. If you want to support us, some of the best things you could do is give us a like or a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to a podcast, a review on your favorite podcast platform goes a long, long way, as well as just sharing the podcast and letting your friends know about us. Word of mouth is how podcasts spread. We appreciate everything y'all can do, and we hope to continue to keep making these episodes for the community. If you want to find out more, you can do so at printergames.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/printergames, twitter.com/printergames, youtube.com/Perram, and you can email us at podcast@printergames.com.
You can also watch me spray myself with paint on live on TikTok at Seventh Mastery if you'd like.
Yep. Yeah, definitely go check out Kristen's TikTok. It's fun. And I need to go get a clip of this spray bottle and just turn it into a looping GIF.
Yeah, the shame will no ends.
All right. All right. So until next time, I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Perram.
I'm Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery, and don't forget to use your screen protector.
We'll see you all next time.
Bye bye.